What's good, y'all? It's your boy Kenny Buttons and Miss Madly coming to you live from the A-Room. Let's go!
The price is wrong, bitch.
All I hear is gift, we need that beat, my nigga. We need the verse. We need some heat, my nigga, like it's the first. They know I got it, nigga had it since birth. If we ain't talking about the bag, we ain't talking about the work, no. No more freebies, no more IOUs, I go Stevie. Wonder how these niggas really see me.
Yeah, what's good, Maddie, what's good? We're back for a second week. The A-Room podcast is back for a second week. We want to thank everyone who tuned in. A lot of great feedback. It was awesome. Just want to remind you guys that the A-Room podcast is a podcast from producers to producers. We're always going to be exchanging information on the daily grind. So it's important that we hear from you. Your feedback, your comments are super important. Make sure you get at us at the A-Room podcast. It's on all social media platforms. If you want to shoot us an email, thearoompodcast@gmail.com. And as we said at the end of our last podcast, if you're a producer, singer-songwriter, and you have amazing material, we'd love to hear it. Please get at us again, thearoompodcast@gmail.com. We will be featuring new artists and new producers every week. So, that being said, we're going to get to the soup of the day. Let's go! Yeah, so what's up, Madly? So why don't you tell us what the soup of the day is?
Soup of the day, Kenny, is what's coming out of your nose right now.
That's so wrong. Hey, listen, by the way, full disclosure, I'm sick. I'm a little nasally, as you could probably tell. I'm going to be doing this probably throughout the whole podcast. And I have some shit dripping from my nostrils. I want to give you
Awesome, Kenny. They all would like to know
listen, you blew me up, so I might as well just come right out with it. So anyway, enough of my drip. Pause. What's that soup of the day, baby girl?
Yeah, so let's talk about cultural appropriation, regards to Bruno Mars. That's been a subject for a while now. So what's your take on it?
Well, I gotta say, like when you hit me up about this cultural appropriation thing and the whole story behind Bruno Mars, and even Justin Timberlake, and they even mentioned like Katy Perry, I was kind of like taken back because when I looked at the meaning of cultural appropriation, I was really offended. And I'll tell you why. Here's why. The meaning, often framed as cultural misappropriation, is a concept in sociology dealing with the adoption of the elements of the minority culture by members of the dominant culture. Mm-hmm. So for me, Madly, like when I saw that, I was like, this shit is completely racist. For me, You
mean the definition itself?
Yeah, I mean, the minority culture. So what we say, hip hop, R&B is the minority culture. Newsflash. Hip hop, R&B has been named the #1 genre in the world. So maybe this needs to be amended as well. We're not the minority culture anymore. This is, if anything, this is the dominant culture.
So now, would you say that there's no such thing as cultural appropriation at all, or is it just regards to this particular matter, the Bruno Mars?
I mean, what the hell are we, Madly? Are we tribes? Is that what's going on here? I mean, these guys have done absolutely nothing wrong. They have contributed creatively. They've injected the culture, the genre of this music with amazing songs. You know what I mean? They've helped move music, the hip hop culture. Why should they apologize? What do they have to be sorry for?
Right. No, I get that. But let's say these 12, 13-year-olds, I forget what the name of this guy was, but it was viral at one point where he was just toting guns and talking about bitches and using the N-word all across the board. And, I mean, my thing is like, that's offensive, though. You know what I mean? We know you don't even have pubic hair. Like, what are you talking about, bitches? You know what I mean? Like, what is this?
No, listen.
Those cases, what's your take on that?
I get it. I understand. It's being pulled from somewhere in the hip hop culture. That, again, a little far left. However,
all the way left.
No, I get it. But here's, I mean, this is a good example. We talked about this before. The hip hop culture is so is a part of every culture around the world. So when you have different ethnicities, different backgrounds, now contributing A, it's going to be different, but B, the people who are contributing are going to be different. That's a beautiful thing. That means this music is resonating with so many people, not just here where it originated from, BX, shout out BX, New York, but all over the world. That's not something to write stories about and say that these people should now owe the culture an apology. If anybody should be apologizing, it should be these people who are writing these damn stories.
However, there should be a word for people like these punks to describe what they're doing, because that's not moving a culture anywhere other than towards trash can. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a better definition for this. So I looked up this Cambridge dictionary that said the act of taking or using things from a culture that is not your own, especially without showing that you understand or respect this culture. I think the last part of this is what defines the cultural appropriation to me.
No,
it's like if you have no respect, and if you just jump in, oh, I'm a rapper today, let me just jump out the bed and then sing and rap about things I have no idea about. I think that's where the line is drawn.
And I agree 100%. But, I mean, if you look at Bruno Mars and you look at Justin Timberlake and many others who are not black, white, who gives a shit about the skin color? When they're contributing to the culture, they're helping to move music forward, and they're contributing nothing but great music. To me, it's unfair. It's unfair. They're doing nothing wrong, and they're doing everything right.
Yeah, and then, Uptown Funk was co-produced by Mark Ronson, who is a white guy from UK.
Right.
And he came to US, he came to New York, and was a known hip hop DJ. So for a guy with this kind of background, you can't tell him that, oh, you're doing something wrong, and I agree with you.
This is a great example of what the culture is doing right.
Right.
All these different examples, again, of different ethnicities, backgrounds, skin color, coming together and contributing in a beautiful way. F off.
Yeah, but Justin Bieber rocking dreadlocks, fuck out of here.
Come on, I mean, if he wants, listen.
Sorry.
Listen, freedom to express yourself. If you want to rock box braids, if you want to get your little, Rastafari on, like, do your thing. Like, as long as you're not bothering anybody or offending someone, what's the big effing deal?
The deal is everybody's so damn sensitive today.
Well, listen, stay your ass inside. Well, moving right along, that's the soup of the day. You know what's next? Coming up to that main course. Let's go, baby.
Ma, the meatloaf! Fuck!
So today's main course is definitely a hot topic across almost every producer's social media out there, right, Madly? Mm-hmm. Sampling loops and looping samples.
Yes.
So I think we should start off by, are you a real producer if you're
using sound kits?
Using sound kits.
Right. And the reason why this is particularly close to home is because when I did Machine Masters on the Spot 2 years ago, that the whole point of the show is for you to take one of the loops from the kit that you've been sent and then make something on the spot. So keep that in mind, like I had really, really good feedback. But I made a mistake of going through the comments that people left, and I know better now. But
stay
off the comments. But I was still there. It was one of my first, video release, so I just wanted to see what's up.
Right.
So there, I was reading. Everything is good, until I get to this dude, Talon times Williams or whatever. He goes, rule number 1. Real beat makers don't use pre-made sample packs. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he got like a bunch of likes under that. Then there goes another dude who went in. He goes, I'm sorry, but this isn't making a beat. This is taking an audio sample of someone else's ideas, someone else's tones, and arranging them in an order you like. It's similar to modern day graphic designers taking other people's ideas, blah, 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 blah. Glorified assembly line worker. Sorry, C. Mosey or whatever the hell your name is.
Blowing you up.
But yeah, you need to, go and kick rocks. Because my thing is, in this particular episode, I was given guitar riffs.
Right.
It wasn't even full-on songs to chop parts from and then just add drums. It was literally just the guitar riffs.
Right.
And I made it work. I arranged the whole orchestration around this, just inspired by that one riff. If I take this guitar riff off that track, it's still a track.
Right.
Full track.
Right.
It makes sense. I can erase it and it would still be a song. So I'm sorry, like, you can't come to me and say, oh, you're not a real producer. Like, fuck you. Right.
No, and I'm going to tell you what. Here's why I love, kits. To me, it's a modern day digging in the crates. I mean, as you can see, Madly, I got my 1200. It's collecting mad dust. I don't use it anymore, and I haven't used it since I had my MPC. The reason why I love, kits today is because it's still, a way of kind of digging in the crates digitally. It's still involved. You know what I mean? You still have to look for that right kick, that right snare. And if you're looking for a specific sound or music loop, that shit still takes time. It's still involved. There's still a process in finding the right stuff. And then when you find it, you still, if you're doing it right, you still have to flip the sample.
But to counter that, I can't find this clown in these comments, but there were two other people that were saying, oh, okay, loops are loops, but samples that's where it was really done right. And digging the crates is not the same as using the pre-made loops. Like, you had to actually decide what, record to pull and what part of the song to use, versus in the kit, it's kind of like, okay, here's that 1 minute, or 30 seconds or whatever. So, the pre-made ideas, that the nuggets, so to speak, are already kind of laid out.
No, and that I get. But listen, I don't miss having to dig into, a million crates to find the one record that might have the dope kick, that might have the dope snare or the sample that you're looking for. Okay, if you enjoy doing that, fine, keep doing it. No one's saying that you shouldn't. But technology has changed. The way in which we create has changed. So the way that we look for kicks and snares and samples are obviously going to change. It's easier, but again, the process is still involved. So let's go back to the dude who said that sampling is somehow more superior than using loops. Well, what about when you just looping an 8-bar sample?
Yeah, totally.
You throwing some drums behind it, you might throw a bass line down, or in some cases, as we've experienced in the last, week listening to records where samples are just being used, period.
Even the OGs in the business have tracks in their catalog that have just been loops of 8 bars.
Facts. And you and I we've had our discussion or our disagreements about this. Listen, there's a creative way to go about flipping a sample. But when you're just using 8 bars and you not changed anything, or maybe you sped it up, maybe you slowed it down, and then you're just throwing drums behind it, where was the creativeness behind that? Where was it? Tell me. As opposed to, say, Just Blaze taking that little sample that he did for Breathe, flipping it and then making this dope record out of it.
Yeah, but remember the song Usher's Throwback?
Yes.
So he looped Dionne Warwick's "You're Gonna Need Me."
Right.
Throughout when I first found out the song, the original, I was like, oh shit, he didn't really do anything in it.
Right.
And Dilla used it the same way almost. So
right.
I'm like, okay, but you still can't judge a producer based on that one record.
Listen, there are some instances, and I just did a track. I took a sample, I sped it up, I did some production behind it, the drums, the bass line, I added a hook. But this was a perfect example of, damn, I don't really want to mess with the sample. It's so dope. Was I as creative as I was doing something original, or taking a sample and really working on it to flip it, cut it, so that way it didn't even sound as the original? No. And I get that sometimes it's so amazing. It's that new Jadakiss and Fabolous record featuring Swizz Beats, where they use that Marvin Gaye sample.
Right.
The only thing that's in there is a bass line slide, maybe the glide, and maybe they doubled up on a kick. That was it. The record is completely the same as when Marvin Gaye did it.
Right.
So, and I'll say, like, can you really take credit for producing a record like that? No. I mean, maybe a small percentage of co-production credits, because I mean that wasn't much done there wasn't anything done except for the glide and maybe you know maybe another double on the kick. So there are some instances where it's so dope, like you don't want to change it.
Well, the Marvin Gaye estate is not even going to give you more than that 1%, so that's that.
I know. So if you're going to use something like that, it better be a good damn record.
Okay, the creative process, the part of it though is that you even like came up with it. This song has been around for like 30 something 40 years.
Right.
Nobody thought of it before this dude did, you know?
Right.
Like, can you shit on him as a producer because he used it? Like, no. Do you want to tell him like, yeah, you should have did more to the sample even though it made perfect sense the way it was? No.
I get it, but again, there's no creative process there. That's all I'm saying, Maddie. Like, there's a sample. And everything is laid out for you. Musically, everything was written.
Why didn't you make this record?
I mean,
She's been around for a while, so what's up?
No, facts. So I can't really give credit to the producer in saying that he produced anything because everything was already laid out for you 100%.
Okay, but for him to see that somebody could actually rhyme to this, again, like, you know, for you to even present this piece of Marvin Gaye's track, okay, fuck it, you didn't do anything on it, a little bit on it, but like for you to even present this as a song, like, that is something in there. Maybe that's that 1%.
Give the man a finder's fee. I mean, come on. There's nothing creative there. I'm sorry. You and me could have threw a glide in there, doubled up on the kick. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing creative.
But you didn't bring the track.
No, I know. I get it. Props where it's due. But I'm just saying, that's the difference between taking a sample, really finding something special, flipping it, and then really making this incredible production. I mean, that EPMD drum sample was used, 112 times?
Right.
It was 112. I mean...
Let's play it so they know what we're talking about.
All right. We'll come right back.
Paddywhack, give a dog a bone. Yo, don't give him nothing but a microphone. Don't stop. I'm not finished yet. You said I'm not the
So yeah, you know, it's a dope loop, but it has been used so many times in popular records too, you know?
I just kept it to myself. I don't wanna know if you're playing me. Keep it on the low, 'cause my heart can't take it anymore.
It's getting spooky out here. All of Nino Browns done turned pookie out here. No cool niggas, it's just goofies out here. I mean, niggas is eating pork wearing koofies out here.
If you love the sounds, fine. But at least create a different drum pattern. Program something different. There's nothing creative about just taking a loop, sampling it behind music. Like, to me, where's the creativeness behind that? You could the technology is so that you could just play something different.
Right, but Eric and Parish, they don't mind. They still making dollars off of that loop.
Very, very true. It's very, very true.
Another song that made me feel some type of way is the New York Shit by Busta Rhymes and Swizz Beats and some other guys.
We should play that.
Yeah.
Let's play that.
Right.
New York, we got Swizzy. If you from New York, stand up right now. If you from New York, hands up right now. Get up, get it up, get it, get it, get it up, get it up, get it up, get it, get it, get it up, get it up, get it up, get it, get it, get it up, get it up, get it up, get it, get it, get it up. Yeah, I'm on my New York. Back to the back on my New York.
Well, first of all, huge fan of DJ Scratch, you know? And I was playing my iPod at the time, years ago. Right. And I had this Dusty Fingers collection. Mm-hmm. Mind you, that's every producer's, playbook kind of like. I heard so many samples. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, okay. But then I came across this song, and I was so shocked. I'm like, wow, like this is a straight loop. Straight loop. So let's play it.
Let's play it. Damn, I hear exactly what you're saying, Abby. Exactly what you're saying.
So, you know, I can't say disappointed, but I was just like, oh, okay, you know? And I'm, again, huge fan of DJ Scratch. He has so much great work out there. So you can't say anything about him as a producer for picking that particular part because the song is hot. You can't take away from it.
Right.
The fact that he saw this as a song, as something that could be made into a dope hip-hop record, you know, good for him, and then good for us. I love that track. You know what I mean? So I, you know, can't necessarily say, "Oh, you're a whack producer because you did such and such."
No, and I'm not taking away anything from producers who find a great sample and go, "Shit, that's all." You know, I don't want to do anything to this. That's also a part of being a great producer. When to know when to say, "Leave it alone." So my biggest thing is, when do you actually take credit for what you've done? That's all it is.
Right.
Do you take credit for what you didn't do? A kick and a snare, you know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't much there, or a kick and a glide, or whatever. Like, you didn't do much. You can't take credit for something that you didn't do. That's all I'm saying. If you're sitting out here, you're just throwing loops behind something, you know what I mean? Or, you know, you're giving yourself credit for doing something that you didn't do. That's a whole nother story.
Dude, but it's up to a publisher. Like, let them decide what percentage they decide to give you for the work. You know, they can hear the track and they can say, "Oh yeah, you didn't do anything."
It was a kick and a glide.
Dude,
I mean,
but then if they decide like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you know, 50-50 or whatever," like, it's free money. What am I going to turn it down? I'm like, "Oh no, guys, no, don't give me this." It's business like anything else.
I feel you. I'm not arguing the point. All I'm saying is, if you threw a loop behind some music, or your music is your loop, and you just design some drums, let's just be realistic about what we produce and what we didn't. That's all I'm saying. I'm not taking credit away from anybody. Again, I agree that sometimes a sample is so dope that you just don't want to do anything to it.
Right. Just, you know, chop it up to be creative.
Right.
So other nerds like yourself can give kudos and be like, "Yeah, good job." Like, most of the audience doesn't give a crap.
No, I know they don't. And that's something that we as producers, as creatives, discuss all the time. Just like, you know, when you say that you're a sound designer and you're really not a sound designer.
That's another story. But even sound design by itself, like, the definition is wide. Like, you can't say that if I take a piece of existing sound, I don't have to go to the woods with the freaking microphone and a tape in order to be authentic, quote unquote, sound designer. I don't have to do that.
No, but
record, I don't know, like rabbit's farts in order to like manipulate them.
Fucking rabbit's farts. No, but listen, my argument here is that there are a lot of kit designers, I should say, that have their own kits that are calling themselves sound designers. My opinion, you can't take someone's kick, snare, throw a compressor on it, maybe a filter, you know what I mean, and call yourself a designer. I feel you've been creative, but you can't now say that you've designed a sound. You got dudes like Sound Oracle who are setting up microphones at gun ranges, shooting different guns with different microphones just to create snares. To me, that's a sound designer. You know what I mean? Someone who's banging on pots and pans, or, you know, I was watching a video where Illmind was scraping like the vacuum hose, or like, I think it was like a pencil or something, and it made this really cool percussive sound. Like, there's a difference. Those guys then take that, manipulate it, do what they do to make something usable. To say that you now are a sound designer from someone else's hard work, you throw some compression and some filters on that shit. And
you're talking about those kicks that are always in everybody's kit? No, I've had those. Dude, I have like an extensive like drum library.
As I do.
And you just have to put it in there. Okay, Kenny, you win. All right. Yours is bigger.
No.
Yours is bigger.
Paul.
Okay, so I have like 20 kits. But out of the 20 kits, there's 5 kicks that sound the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the loops. Like there are so many kits out here that have these drum loops that have been used, let's just say like the EPMD loop. And what they've done is they compressed it, they've thrown a filter on it, maybe they've done some slick shit to it. They were creative. But that loop has been around for the longest time. To then do that and call yourself a sound designer, come on. Come on, man.
Okay, Kenny. Okay, I agree with, let's say you take a one shot. You take a one shot of the kick and the snare, and then you pitch it up and down, and then you put some compression or transient master on it. Yeah, I get that part. Like, I don't want to pay $30 to get the same kick back to me with a little bit of, like, added flavor. No. But when somebody takes a loop and then creatively does something to it, necessarily not theirs, hopefully clearance-free, but they've done something creative to it, I see that as sound design. It's you don't necessarily have to go to the roots. You don't have to record it personally in order to be a sound designer. And you can still be super creative with somebody else's pre-made
and you just said it, though. You just said it, though. You can be super creative. You're being creative. I get it.
But you're designing it.
Well, listen, if you take something, and I'll agree with you, if you take a kick, for instance, and you do so much that it doesn't sound like a kick anymore, or it's completely something different.
Okay.
I dig it. You've now designed something different. But to take, again, a kick, a snare, or even a loop, or whatever, a vocal, and have done minor things to it, to me, you're being creative. You're not really designing. I know the definition says you are.
Right.
But to me, dudes who are out there really creating sound from nothing, giving you new, fresh shit, these guys are designers. You know what I mean? You know, these plugins that we use, you know, with all these amazing sounds. To me, these guys are designers. Like, they sat down, you know, from nothing and created something. You know, to take then that hard work, flip it a little bit, throw some, you know, some dust and, you know, some sprinkles on it and say you've designed something. To me, you're being creative. You're not really designing.
Okay. So I agree with you on one-shots. I totally agree. Like, I don't want to hear the same kick over and over, same snare over and over in a different package. Like, I'm not paying $30 for that.
Right.
However, like, when we come back to the computer generated stuff, like, I take a sine wave, or let's say I even take something that is already somebody else's sample, or even I'm sampling my own stuff. It doesn't matter. If I'm not the creator of the original source, but I can do something really cool with the sample, like, I'm sorry, you are a designer. Like, whether you like it or not, whether you decide to rock with it or not, that's a different story.
Right.
But if I'm taking something and if I'm doing a little more than just adding a delay or a long reverb on it, you're a designer, unfortunately or fortunately. You know?
Well, if I know you, and I know you, Madly, and I've heard you take a sample, flip it where it doesn't sound anything like the original, and you put time and work into making something new, different. Yes, if you start with a sine wave, and now you have something completely new, I'll agree with that. Right. Not only are you being creative, but you're designing. Right. But we hear it all the time. And these kits alone, like, there are so many drum kits out here, or let's just say sound kits, that have the same one-shots, even the same loops, even the same percussive loops, right. the same fills that these guys are using, and all they're doing is compressing a little bit, maybe throwing some filters on it, EQing it a little bit. You still hear it's the same thing.
No, yeah, totally. Like,
Right.
if I can tell that this come across my desk before in another form, no,
Right.
I get it.
Right.
So how do you feel about the whole no sample in the song title? Shout out to Ovalord, because I remember he was the one who posted it initially on his Facebook.
Right.
Saying, like, why do people put no samples in the name of the song title? Is it because they think that it's somehow more precious than you know, somebody who's using samples in their work?
Right.
Is that the reason?
I mean, listen, I give so much credit to those, you know, who can take a sample, flip it, and they're super creative and make an incredible record out of it. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing shy of genius. To say sampling, you know, is lesser than someone who's actually creating a record, playing everything, it's still being creative. It really is still being creative. The argument is when you're just using a sample and you're looping it. And I think that's the difference.
Right.
You can't take the credit away from someone who's actually working, flipping a sample and doing something really dope and creative.
I've heard so many tracks, not to name any names, recently, especially in trap lane,
right,
the toggling between the three notes.
Right.
And not to say anything bad about it, but as far as like, if we compare the creativeness, I'm sorry, but somebody who messed the whole sample up, chopped it, went crazy, wins this particular battle for me, you know?
Absolutely.
So to come back to what Ovalord was asking is the reason why I put no sample in my song titles is more of the clearance factor.
Right, right.
Because I just watched an interview with 2 Chainz talking about the Street Runner collab, where he said that he doesn't want any samples in his song because he wants to release it the next week. So that's the main reason why somebody would say no sample in the title.
Right.
If I put that in there, it's more like a selling point of like, yeah, guys, like I'm the only person you have to go through in order to get this record released.
But that doesn't take anything away from the producer that uses samples, that knows how to flip them, and creates genius work.
Yeah, I don't think that it's not a competition who's more creative or not. You can suck as a original composer and you can suck as a sampler. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I feel like using samples or using loops is only as whack as a producer who's doing it.
That is such a good point, Maddy. That's such a good point. Well, y'all, that wraps up our main course. Yeah, you know what's next. That side dish.
What the fuck did you put in that sauce?
And you already know, y'all, the side dish is exciting for us because we feature a new artist every week or a new producer. Yeah. This week, we're featuring the homie Nino Bless. First, I want to shout Nino out because he was the one who put the bug in my ear for starting the podcast. So, huge shout out to you, Nino. Nino and I have done a lot of great work together, and I'm excited to be a part of this new album. He has a new album coming out, Illuminati Rejects 2. This album is going down with something called The Rejects Experience. It's going to be releasing this weekend, April 7th. So be sure to go out and cop that. Again, Illuminati Rejects 2. We're going to play a joint called The Arrival, produced by me. Let's get into it.
We are alright. We are alright. Yeah, we on the way now. On the way now. On the way now. Yeah, we don't wanna go. We gonna roll today. We gon' find a way. Yeah, we gon' find a way. So
I tell them get out of my way. This is Pop got shot by a narc cop, whatever. Mafia, fed swat. I've been locked in for the top slot. I'm like non-stock if they eat them, but I ain't got some believing. I'm God's pops, imposters can't stop us. They try then get pop. Better dodge or get caught. I'm charged. Out the box I got lost in. Hopscotch my courses, gorgeous. On this road to riches, then I'm off to give it all to the poor. Shit, I'm lost. But I ain't tryna find my way. I ain't rich, homie, but make it real some type of way. I know I'm late, but tell the leeches that we with this shit. Some of y'all leaders letting off for hoes, clipping them for the cause. Or this is written, I barely could lift the pen. I had the biggest chip on my arm, or the doubts within. Had a mounted quick, and me down and shit. Now I'm gassing like it's Auschwitz, and I mastered this. How with a bounce with it like the alchemist, and I found it like Malcolm did through the Quran. Look, I'm out here, begun. Rerouting this crowd in the count of 6. 1, 2, skip to 4, 5, click and blow. That's it. This ain't about. I'm about this shit. I let out every ounce of this blood, sweat, and tears to end the drought. My clout is eclipsing what's left in here. These counterfeiters counting digits, pouting, shouting for drum by limits. My album is out. Don't get it if the algorithm don't fit your outlook. It's for alphas willing to kill for the crown. They never wear it. I'm grounded while airing them out. Asking rappers alive, see me wearing them out here. So it's different if I say I'm rocking Yeezys out here. They say rap's gonna die, not if you breathe in my air.
We are alright. We are alright. Yeah, we on the way now. On
Again, y'all, huge shout out to the homie Nino Bless. That was a pretty dope joint.
Yes.
Illuminati Rejects 2 coming out this weekend, April 7th. Be sure to go out and cop it. That's our show for today. Mally, this was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. Feel better, Sniffles. And I kill you if you get me sick.
Again, we would love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to email us, thearoompodcast@gmail.com. If you want to just leave us a little comment on all social media at the A Room Podcast. Again, this is an exchange, so we love to hear from you. Don't be afraid to drop us a line. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Be blessed.
All I hear is gift, we need that beat, my nigga. We need the verse. We need some heat, my nigga, like it's the first. They know I got it, nigga had it since birth. If we ain't talking about the bag, we ain't talking about the work. No more freebies, no more IOU.